that.
That was very good.
Official.
It was nice.
All right. Okay, so
I mean, there's two Lisas.
do you need a point of personal privilege? You see? Is there something you wanted to add?
Nope.
Do you know how this works?
Trying.
Change rooms and a whole new personality comes
I
in.
know,
I
you-
kind of like it.
Put her up here and she can't behave anymore. What's going on?
I should be on that side of the.
That's my old seat, that's why. All right, okay, we have a full agenda here today, so I called the meeting to order. Roll, so if Sarah, if you would please take roll for us, please.
Or Tom Sonic,
Here?
Carrie Netto,
Here.
Stacy Maher.
Here.
Did I say it wrong?
Nope.
Okay.
Maher. It's fine. You're good.
Emily Haig Nguyen, absent. Si Yang. Here. And Lisa Wong.
Here.
And Sarah Lang is here, our commission secretary. So adopt the agenda. So we have the approval of the minutes, the meeting open to the public, public hearings, commission business action items, old business reports from staff, commissioners, council liaison, and then we will adjourn. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as is.
So moved.
Moved by Stacy. Do we have a second?
I'd second that.
Gary, thank you. Any discussion? Anything, any concerns about what's on the agenda or not on the agenda? Okay, so all those in favor of approving the agenda, adopting the agenda as is, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The agenda is adopted. Approval of the minutes. So I would like to start by thanking people. I think Carrie, especially, you sent a lot of background information of the minutes from the October 5th meeting, so thank you for doing that. And then we have the minutes, Sarah, and I appreciate I like how you put the minutes in the order there, so it's really helpful to remind as we went through with the old agenda there, so. If everyone had a chance to take a look at those minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve both minutes from the October 5th meeting and the November 2nd meeting. We can stay.
So
here all
moved.
night. Okay, thank you, Carrie. Second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion around those minutes? Questions, issues? Okay, all those in favor of approving those minutes as is, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved from both October and November. So meeting open to the public. We have someone from the public here. Would you like to say anything? Oh.
Well,
So,
hello.
like, I think this
Good
is
to
our
see
first
everyone
time.
again. Before I left, we were in the process of talking about a paint party.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to share a little bit of information that I have on that because I had been working with Archie from the American Legion on the possibility of hosting something at their location. So just wanted to let you know that he is open to proposing the idea to, I'm not sure if they have a board or what their structure is, but we would have to put together kind of like an RFP of what our plan is and what it entails. But he seemed excited, and it would be a win-win situation because it would benefit the Legion. I'm sure, they would make money from if they sold any beverages. And then, of course, for the Arts Council, we could do it as a fundraiser. So just wanted to share that information with you guys.
Great. And do you know, so is that something that we would utilize their back room? I don't know what
Yes.
that's called, but.
Yeah. So we had originally talked about hosting it at Casey Lake, which would be really nice.
Right.
But we run into the issue with the liquor license, and
Right.
this way, if we hosted it at a bar, it'd be an issue.
Yeah, do you know what Archie is looking for in an RFP? Just kind of like a one-pager about this is what it would be and what it would
Yeah,
look
and
like?
he didn't even, the RFP was not his terminology, but basically just give them an idea of what we're proposing.
Sure.
And what, what our plans are and how it would work, because he would have to bring that to the board for approval.
Yeah, I appreciate looking into that, Lisa. And could you, I know we've talked about this in the past, but what are your thoughts about like how that would be guided? Like if so we have one of these events, would it be you or would we get an artist that's saying, okay, everybody's gonna paint this?
I,
And then how does that work?
it's completely up to, I want to say the members, the arts and culture members. I have hosted parties before, so I'd be more than willing to host if, you know, you'd like me to. Or we could even alternate and bring other people in. But I do have experience with that and would
Okay.
be very happy. And yes, usually at a paint party, there's one drawing and then the leader leads everyone through it. The
Gotcha.
artist leads
Okay.
everyone through is how
Yeah.
it would. And typically, it is projected on a bigger screen so
Oh.
that people can see it and
Well, so people are kind of like recreating something that's another piece of art that's already been created by
Yes.
someone else.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense.
yeah.
I've never been to one of these things before, so I don't know.
Any other questions? Okay, well, it's so good to see you all again.
Yeah, good to see you, Lisa.
Yeah, all right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts or questions about that? Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
Do you remember how we said that we would have our budget, like we would budget buying canvases for people and like have,
Yeah.
is that still something that we're still considering?
Sarah,
or
do
would
you
we-
want to talk to that?
Sure, yep. So we did make the purchase. So we have 200 canvases, 40 sets of paint, several hundred paintbrushes. Part of that order actually arrived today, so it's here already.
Oh, wow.
So we have completed that.
Great.
And I did go with the 16 by 20 canvases as well.
And easels and stuff too?
We have not ordered easels yet. So if that's something,
Mm. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's good to know. So that's something we,
okay, and that's something you would all approve of as well?
yeah, do we want to just kind of talk about that right now? Because I think we've got that money in the budget to do that, so I don't know what an easel looks.
Just for transparency, the comment from Lisa, if people couldn't pick up on it, was that it would need to, the canvases are recommended and should be ordered, right, Lisa? Does that sound right? Or the easels? The easels are recommended. Yep, great.
And they'd be,
Because Sarah ordered canvases, paint, and brushes,
Correct.
right?
table easels, right?
Pardon?
Table easels?
I don't know what that would, like, what kind of easels? That's what I would think. You'd put it
Right.
on a table.
So then we'd have tables, yeah, okay. I mean, people would have tables so that they could put down their beverage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like $20 at Michael's for
Oh,
tabletop easels.
there you go.
Sure. Excellent.
So is, and then for, what we're, Lisa, you had mentioned the potential fundraiser for the Arts and Culture Commission. Would the idea here be that we would charge people money to do this? Yes. It is, okay.
Like $40 a person, maybe? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd love to, for us to have some discussion around this. I don't know when the first one that we would do would be. I mean, unless we're gonna try and get something on the calendar tonight, we would probably, then, if not today, then our next meeting in January, we should try and get some of these on the calendar when we wanna do these. But I would lean hard towards making this as low cost to residents as possible. First of all, I think people who, or maybe there's a difference in price whether you're a North St. Paul resident or not, so if you're coming with someone who's a North St. Paul resident and you live in, God forbid, Maplewood or something like that, that you would pay, $30 or something, but if you're a North St. Paul resident, then you'd pay $20, or, you know what I mean? Just, and I think it's reasonable to ask people to pay something, just because if nothing else, I think it helps people take it more seriously. And it's like, well, they got a little bit of an investment in here. They're gonna show up, and they're gonna, do their best with it. But given the fact that the entire thing is already funded by taxpayers, the less we charge the taxpayers to attend, the better, is my feeling toward it. And I think if we do have a cap, it's like the first X number of people, because we can only do so many people at a time. I don't know what thoughts are about that.
We're automatically enrolled, right?
Pardon?
We're all automatically enrolled, right?
Yeah, but you have to have a standing easel. You can't sit.
I've attended these events in the past, or an event like this in the past, and I think that price point is reasonable, but typically comes with like a beverage from my experience. So maybe we could explore the cost to maybe host soda as a commission, like have a soda thing, like where you can get a soda
Sure.
pop. And then if people want to choose to purchase alcohol while they're there, they're welcome to do so from the Legion.
Yeah, or something. And I mean, and also, so we have to be, kind of careful about how we phrase it, but you can still do it at the Casey Park shelter, and people can just bring their own. We just don't want to push, bring your own, but anybody can anytime they want. So we could say, hey, we will have some things available or something like that, but yeah, I'm open to having something like that too, especially for charging money.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea to involve staff in kind of the language aspect of it
Yeah.
and kind of the operational piece. I think that will give some more clarity to how this would be implemented.
I also think there's pros to highlighting this at Casey Lake, because it's bringing residents into one of our parks buildings
Right.
that they might not often have a reason to visit. But there's also big pros in having this at the Legion, because that is supporting a North St. Paul business that is also a nonprofit and gives back to the community. So
That sounds great.
Yeah, I like moving it around, and I think, in the winter, maybe even more than quarterly, potentially. I don't know, I guess we'll have to pilot it and see how it goes the first time, but I think there's something to the idea of it being sort of self-sustaining, at least kind of recouping the cost of easel paint and brushes, that type of thing, but what was the cost of the easels, do you remember, Sarah? Or canvases, I'm sorry.
For like I have it actually right here. I can grab that. So for the 200 canvases that we bought, it was $463, so $46 for a 20-pack. So we'll have to do the math.
Yeah.
$46 for a 20-pack?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Not too bad.
that's pretty cheap.
it's $2.32 a canvas,
And then
Yeah.
approximately.
Lisa, you'd be basically donating your time as the artist facilitator. It's very generous. Thank you.
I do agree with the terminology around it, though. Surrounding the fundraising, I don't want to put you on the spot, Brandy, but getting money from that event, I don't know how that's going to look, because we've had so much discussion with the sponsorships and the donations, and that might be a little bit tricky, but that's something we can certainly talk about, try to figure out on our end.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add right now without having done any research or have the background quite yet on the limitations, but we can get those questions answered.
I think it's, if, we're not soliciting donations, people are paying money and getting something in return, then I think we're probably pretty safe, given our conversation that we just recently had with Soren and the mayor, so. I think if it's something, it's like an admission fee, I think seems pretty reasonable. So commissioners, do we want to table the rest of the details of this until our next meeting and then schedule some of these things, or at least schedule the first one, or do we want to try and schedule something now and get to work at it? Wait till next meeting?
I feel like, oh, go ahead.
Well, I just am curious, how much lead time will the Legion need from receiving an outlined plan to having us put this on their schedule?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm gonna suggest that we wait till next meeting.
Okay.
And we may have a couple more commission members at that meeting, hopefully. And that'll give us, we'll have more input that way, and I think then we can get to some of those details. But I think just for everybody to kind of think about in the interim is, what do we think would be reasonable for cost? How many of these would we do? Where would they be? You know, I would love it to see if we could do, 3 of these before the springtime comes, if that seems reasonable for people, if people show up, if
I think-
people come.
I think if we do that, I think someone should take lead in like putting something down on paper regarding like the plans and how it would work and function. And I don't know if that's like admin people. Otherwise, I'm happy to kind of put something together and share with people.
You want to do that, See?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Just to get
Something
the
for
ball
us to
rolling.
react to
Yeah.
next time we meet in January?
Yep.
That'd be great. So our meeting in January must be the 4th? Okay. So January 4th, less than a month away, we can meet and so see if you have something that we can react to, and then we can just we'll start knocking it out. We'll see how it goes. I mean, we could always schedule a few of them, and if the first one, no one shows up, we could cancel the other ones, and then send all the paint supplies back on Amazon or whatever, I don't know. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like the art cart, we tried it in a few different venues over the summer, and we kind of saw what happened, and we can see where we go next with that.
Just to clarify, for C's purpose, is the recommendation then to work with city staff on coming up with a proposal so that the language is right? I don't want to have you,
I'm not planning on making anything official, just something for, timeline, like these are the things that we should consider, like that type of thing. Not necessarily like, I don't know, details like what we're gonna market or what we're gonna say in
Yeah,
our.
I think maybe it'd be something for us to
Yes.
react to
Yeah.
first, and then maybe we can add some details or make some edits, then get it to staff to say, hey,
Make it
let's
happen.
make sure Soren's okay with this or whatever, and then we can run with it. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Great.
Great. All done with that one? Lisa, anything else you want to talk about? Okay.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to item 7, commission business, action items and recommendations. So the first thing is Project Snowy update in 2023 projections. So I don't know if we have any update since last time, but I think what we want to do is start talking about what are we thinking about? What does our timeline look like for 2023 now? So again, I was reading in the minutes, we said something about, we'll be ready to choose the artist in April or something like that. So that means we have January, February, March meetings. So we have 3 meetings to get all that stuff done up to that point. So a lot of legwork has already been done, but what do we need to do to get to that point for Project Snowy? I was looking back also through the minutes. Do we still need to redo the flyer? Does anybody remember?
I don't think so. I think C did her work on it, and then Carrie did her work on it, and I think we were pretty set, unless there was something else.
Because did we take off the $2,500 option? And we took up the word sponsor?
Not that I know of. I think I know Stacy, you worked on it a little bit.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
I did a draft when we were considering working with the North St. Paul Business Association, and based on their feedback, had removed the word sponsor from
Oh, okay.
everything. And then added their name in there as a co-participant. But I seem to remember that we're kind of stalled because there was concern from the North St. Paul Business Association as well. Like, everyone seems to be concerned about moving forward, but maybe I'm misremembering.
I think we're clear for takeoff from what I remember from a month ago, is that we're,
Yeah, my understanding is that the agreement was that it would be a purchased product, like our T-shirts and whatever else. And then once the delivery has been made, that's out of the hands of the Arts and Culture Commission. My understanding is that there's still some need around the development of programming around the Project Snowy is what's left.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we need so if the sponsor language has already been taken out, I think it's really just a matter of, okay, we're looking for people who want to buy one of these things. And then I don't recall if we wanted to, maybe we didn't want to have this in the flyer itself, but talking about, there's kind of these two options. So you talk to businesses or individuals, if somebody wants to buy one of these things, they can, right? We talk to them and say, for $5,000, you can get one of these things, and we're going to collect artists' designs, and then you'll be able to choose the artist of your choice, the design of your choice, and the artist that you want to have on your Snowy. And we're going to do some programming with these things. I think we still have to figure out some of that stuff. But we'll do some, programming, like whether it's having them all painted somewhere downtown during a car show so people can see that happening. It's some of the things that we talked about before. But, and then when they're done, then we will deliver it to you or have it delivered to you at your place of business or wherever you want it delivered, and then it's yours, period. End of story. We're not going to move it. We're not going to store it. We're not going to do anything different with it. Once it's yours, and we're not going to touch it again. However, maybe you want to buy one of these things on behalf of your business and donate it to the city. Certainly in your right to do that. But so that's the part about, hey, you have an option here. Maybe you don't want a Snowy sitting at your business. Maybe it's not the type of place where it would be, helpful for your business. Shifsky's is probably not looking for general traffic coming to their place, right? They don't depend on people just stopping by and saying, hey, now that I think of it, maybe I'll get a new driveway. So there may be some businesses that would maybe otherwise not do it because they think, well, I don't have a place for this thing. And we say, well, we have places throughout the city where we could place them and have a plaque with your name on it. So what do we think about that? Do we want to have any kind of language to that effect on the flyer about the donation potential? You think that's okay to do that?
That's another tricky one with the word donation in there right now. So I'll have to do some research on that and see what we can do with that. And
Yeah, I'm looking at the minutes. It says from last month, we were going to draft a new flyer with the one purchase option, take out any verbiage surrounding sponsorship or solicitation, and then once a new proposal is complete, a version will be sent to Soren. So I guess if we do, I did it. I guess if we do all of that, then once we send it to him, he'll be able to review the fundraising language and make sure that that's
Right.
viable.
So, and maybe it's, My gut tells me that we'd be better off speaking to that option. So, I mean,
Yeah.
look, I don't think we're gonna be mailing these flyers out to people all over, right? It's more of a thing to have on hand to show to people when we're out, talking, talking the program up, the project up, right? Like Stacy, when you went out with Terry in the past,
We weren't allowed to talk the project up because of city government rules, though. That's the problem. We cannot solicit the public to participate in this directly. That's what Soren took issue with, because it risks a quid pro quo if we directly approach a business and they don't participate. Then, or if they do, there's this danger, and that's why the business association was brought in as a partner.
I don't remember that aspect of it. So would we have to, so is the idea that if we want to talk to people about this, it's going to have to be the business association doing it?
Correct.
Huh.
And they've agreed to promote that, if my
Okay.
recollection.
Okay. And that's, the other thing is, the mayor's not going to be the mayor for, in just a few more weeks, so.
So we can call this purchase, because they're purchasing instead of a donation. The verbiage that we had previously was on the back, we referred to it as an investment, which that is a very optimistic way of redefining the word purchase. But we can change that to purchase instead. And I have the flyer pulled up, and I can just,
Yeah, and then the next bullet on our list from last month was drafting what the role of the business association will be. So it sounds like that is having them kind of be our liaison in the community to engage interest.
Yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah, I would think.
I think that's allowable.
But, and then if it's, so if we can't approach individual businesses, then maybe we could print up all kinds of these flyers and just drop them off at businesses. I don't know. But it seems weird that if, like I, as an arts and culture commissioner, cannot go to businesses and say, hey, you interested in doing this? But if they are interested in doing it, or they're not interested in doing it, don't I still have that same potential bias for or against that business if they do it or don't do it? So what's the difference if I ask them ahead of time or I don't ask them?
it's a great question for Soren,
Yeah.
because he was the,
So
yeah.
I think that's something we'll just have to sort through. So we'll get a new flyer. I see you're already working on that, Stacy. Thank you. And then we'll have to have language. So let's look at it this way. So Sarah, I think for next month's meeting, let's ensure that we have time to review the language that C is putting together for the paint and sip event, or whatever we're calling that one. And then we'll review the language in the snowy flyer, so that as a result of our next meeting, we can have those things sent directly to Soren, Carrie, whoever else we need to for approval, so that we can move forward.
I think there was one other question about the contact information on the flyer. We have a Google phone number, right, listed? And Carrie, has that message been updated to welcome to Project Snowy, or some sort of language?
It's that generic, you have reached 651, da da da
Right.
da.
And I believe some feedback from Carrie, Communications Carrie, was to update it with a voice message that's like, thank you for calling Project Snowy, leave your message, and, to make it more formal and official.
Okay?
Where should the flyer be sent to?
Well, you can send it to Sarah.
Okay.
And then she can send it out to all of us prior to the meeting, so we can review it before the meeting. But then we can make final decisions at that meeting. Does that sound okay? Okay. And then, so then I think what we're gonna have to do from there is, it's kind of checking back on the process we went through before. So we're gonna have a call for artists. We gotta, think, how do we broadcast that a little wider maybe to get more submissions for this? And then we'll, however we're gonna go about getting participants in the project, people that wanna buy these things. And then we'll know, do we know, like, when do we want to do a cutoff of these things? Like, or do we want to talk about that at the next meeting as well? Like, so call for artists, I think, would have to be, we can take orders for these things longer than the call for artists goes, right? But just thinking high level on a calendar timeline here, do we want to have like, call for artists, have those things all in by end of April, end of March, end of May?
Are we still trying to hit the car show, so we have them ready for that first
Well,
car
I
show,
think
that
that's a
first
good
weekend in
question too,
June?
because do we want to try and do the staging, the painting of them
Yeah,
and do that?
I think that's nice.
And we
During
have
the
to.
car show?
What's that?
Having the painting during the car show?
Yeah, So that would mean, and we have to accept the fact that there might be some artists who are selected who might not be available that night, but so we say, yeah, on this Friday, we want to have people here, we'll have those things set up there so they can be painted there, or whatever. That's another thing we're gonna have to work out with, Tracy Luther, if that's where we're gonna have it in that same spot, because what if they're not done? They're not gonna get done in one night at the car show. So then what? Do the artists have access to return to that spot? Do we have to move them?
And if it rains,
Tom, do you have a relationship with Tracy Luther?
I don't, but Terry is the one who has been talking with Terry about.
So I would suggest to have Terry ask Tracy if we could use the space from the beginning of May, maybe through the middle of June, with the idea that the artist, like with a time frame of when artists will be able to access the space, and then promote a public viewing
Right.
and have the artists commit to working on their sculptures during a car show that we name in
Yeah.
that time frame, so that it allows the artist to have space and time, which is really important, and then incorporates the public and involves the public in watching them.
Yeah, because that's just a logistics question we would have to resolve one way or another, because, if we get the blank snowies, I mean, what if we weren't going to do the thing like at this space on the corner downtown? Then what would we do? What we're gonna deliver them to each artist's home or studio, and then pick them all up from there, and then, so we're gonna have to do something somehow to make it available to the artists for these to be painted, right? So if there is this option to kind of keep them there for an extended period of time, it could be, I don't know, I'm just guessing here, but maybe Tracy would be amenable to having the place opened certain hours throughout the week, so the artists can choose during those times and they can come. So then anybody who happens to be downtown could see this happening any of those days of the week. So just question to be resolved, I guess. So I'll reach out to Terry about that and see, what that might look like. And we have time to figure that out. I mean, if that's not the solution, then we'll find something else. We'll figure something else out. But, so that would put us in May for the painting to happen.
Yep.
So does it make sense then that like end of April for the artist submissions?
at minimum, I think it'd be good to give them a good heads up, because they'd have to do painting purchase, kind of like prepping or, planning date wise
Right,
also.
so say we had, end of April, and then the first week of May, we meet and choose the artists,
And have them paint by mid-May?
and then have them starting at whatever car show in May. I mean, when does the car show start? Does it start before Memorial?
June.
In June?
Oh, is it?
I
Yeah.
still think it'd be beneficial to let them start earlier than the first car show.
For sure.
But
yeah.
just make them commit to painting during that car show, regardless of when they choose to start beforehand.
Ooh, okay.
Do you have like a number of snowies that you're kind of looking to
Paint?
sell or
So-
paint? Because that might influence
Timeline?
timeline and space.
Yeah. Well, I know of 3 for sure,
Oh, that's great.
right? I mean, we have one. I have heard that the Historical Society's getting one.
Okay.
And I know Premier Bank is getting one that they're gonna then donate to the city.
Fantastic.
That's 3.
So once we formally launch this, thinking about that, do we want to limit the total amount at all? Or do we just want to?
Total amount of snowies?
Yep.
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
You mean because of like how much space we would have for painting? Yeah, I think maybe it's just, that,
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
we'll fit whatever we can in the room to be painted, and the others just figure something else out. I
Yeah, we
guess.
could have to pivot and give artists like a 3-week period
Right.
that staggers
Right.
to get it done too, if we have a phenomenal response to this, which fingers crossed.
Yeah.
What is the production turnaround time again for these?
Well, it depends on what day you talk to them.
Okay.
So that's why they're not done right now, is because, but I think it was originally, it was around 2 weeks, I think.
Oh, okay, much better than I thought.
But, the kind of prep work has been done, so the mold has been redone, so that's what the city paid for to get this first one done. So the mold is ready to go, so any additional ones would be, and the other thing is they can start making them anytime, so if we have 3 orders to start, we can say, hey, make 3, don't wait, you can make those 3. And then as more orders come in, we can just keep saying, hey, we have another order, here's another 2 or whatever, and just add as we go.
I believe they're setting up a purchase plan so that people that are opting in, we're not just willy-nilly giving amounts without them actually completing a posted purchase plan that includes collecting payment.
And so that's a good point too, Stacy, because should we talk to Dan about that? Our finance director about, Sarah, you have any thoughts about that? Do we need to talk to our finance director about how to collect the funds for this? So now that we will take the money,
Yep.
because they're just buying it.
Carrie Communications has already set up, it's not active on the website right now, but there is a way to purchase it.
Oh,
So all she needs to do is basically turn that on and it's ready
Oh.
to go. It's set up to go to the right fund.
so someone would go and, so if I'm, if I'm me and I want to buy one of these things, I just go to the website and do the purchase
Yep.
online?
It's the same process
great.
as if you're going to sponsor a tree or,
Oh, okay.
yep.
Oh, that's cool. So purchase is done online.
Through the city's website.
I wonder if that's something we could include on the flyer?
Mm-hmm.
Purchase done online. Okay, so then we're, roughly talking about, does that sound okay if we said we call for artists, we want all submissions by the end of April? No, you don't like that?
I think that is too short of a time. I don't know. I guess like for me, I'm more of like a you need like breathing space time, right? Because like I guess like how hard of a deadline do you want them to be able to meet some of these other kind of events? Because like if artists turn in their submissions, is there some sort of evaluation, or is it just going to go straight to whoever's purchasing them to kind of just, select it and then, and then informing, paying them, them getting the materials, them getting the right dates to paint
Right.
and.
My understanding was we are partners with the purchasers in that the purchasers do have input on their Snowy's design. We
yeah.
don't get to design them.
Right.
I thought they were just doing, that they pick, right? That they pick. But
Well, so the idea is like, we would gather artist submissions of like artists who are willing to do this and have some idea of what it would look like, their design, well, just like we did before, and we had, half a dozen designs or whatever. So then say, we have a meeting set up where we have all of the purchasers come and pick their design from all of the things that have been submitted. And then there will be one for sure, maybe more, where it will be us or some other group that will pick. Like, so for that one that's sitting outside, that'll be, us or the general public or whatever that will pick the design for that one. When we have yet to, we had talked about this before, but, how do we want to go about doing that? But we may be picking more than one design, who knows? But then as soon as that's done, we can notify the artist and say, hey, your design was selected, and here's what you need to do. So somehow then we would send out the stipend to the artist, say, have at it, get the paint, and here's when the thing will be available, and here's where it will be for you to paint it. So I think that's something we'd have to put in the call for artists as well, is like, if you're selected, here's what will happen.
Was that going to be public, or was that just going to be something off, to the side that we're going to be doing, selecting the artist? Or, people selecting artists?
Like, you mean for the ones that would be more or less owned by the city? So, yeah, last time we had talked about this, didn't you put together the matrix?
Yes, and
Yeah.
I thought that was public, and so then, just thinking about we'd have to be meeting, we'd have to meet, right? And then all that other stuff that goes.
Yeah, so I think it was just, we were looking at just having the Arts Commission, I think the mayor, I think, maybe would have been involved. And we were gonna rate the submissions, and then whichever got the highest rating would be selected for the ones that were owned by the city.
See, would
Done
you share
publicly.
what time you're concerned about?
Well, okay, so say if they submit their stuff at the end of April, right? So basically that means there's May, and if basically we'd get to it by end of April, early May, and then if we need to inform them, hey, we picked you, and then they need to start painting by mid-May, informing them, and then I guess I'm not an artist, so I don't know, but do they need to get stuff together in order to, do they need to check out the Snowy first before painting? Do they need to, all these other things? And then we're also only meeting once a month, and for me, I feel like it's hard to do things when we're only meeting once a month.
I know, yeah.
So I guess that's where my concern is.
So the other, to that point about the once a month, I think this is going to be one of these things, I think, especially as we begin the new year, where I think it would be helpful for us to have a subgroup that's taking the lead on Project Snowy. So we could have a subgroup of 3 people.
I also think this might be a project that warrants a special meeting.
Could be,
That's
yeah.
a second meeting of the month, just to
that's a good
keep
point.
it moving forward. But on that line, I do have a recommendation to have the purchases of the Snowies have set a deadline to that of the end of February, so that when we do an RFP, we include a list of all the businesses that have purchased these for artists to submit their designs for. Because if we're gonna present this also to businesses as an option, the creativity is amazing with this project. It's pretty cool. And if I'm a business owner and I'm purchasing a $5,000 statue to be designed, and there's nothing that speaks to what my business is from any of the designs that are submitted, it could be, I might be a little disappointed. So to try and serve the people who are purchasing these, to help keep them in mind, I think it could be helpful for the artists to know who's participating when we put out a call.
I guess, but then, so what, you're gonna have like a Snowy that's all covered in Premier Bank logos?
Premier Bank doesn't necessarily mean a logo. There's a lot about like the financial industry and banking. You could get
Yeah.
creative about if that's who you were as an artist. When the RFP goes out and you see that, maybe you identify with something
Yeah.
and say, "Whew," and go all in.
Weren't they also gonna have the option of just picking an artist and then that artist design something that
I
that
think that
business wanted?
should be on the table as well, yeah, that if they got somebody they know, they could just pick whoever they know, I guess.
That could be a checkbox on the purchase agreement of, would you like to review artists that the city solicits, or not solicits, that's not a good word to use.
Art
That-
options.
A call for, that the city collects, or that the commission collects, or would you prefer to find your own artist, check this box or that box? If you check your own artist box, this is when you're going to have, provide a date when they're gonna have to have their artist and design selected by, so that we can keep
Yeah.
that option in line with the same program.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's good that they could have an option if they have an artist that they have in mind. In some ways, I would like them to just say, okay, then submit that design, and, in the spirit of things, having people still go through the overall process. But I would not want to cut off the time to buy one, though. Because I think you could go as long as we want. Someone wants to buy one, we can still facilitate that getting done. I think the idea for the program of the project is that, say we have, get a half a dozen of these things that are purchased, that we can do, as the Arts and Culture Commission, do some programming around that, bringing visibility to these things, building the civic pride, getting customers to go to these different businesses, that type of thing. And then if even more of them rolled in, like maybe some business sees one in next September, they say, geez, I wish I would have done one of those things, we can say, you can if you want. We'll get you one made if you want.
The timeline is more to participate with our program,
Yep.
because if you have someone that shows up the day after we select our artists, or you know what I mean? It's going to mess up the cadence and delay the project if we don't set some boundaries around participation of the program.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean businesses still couldn't opt in to purchase a Snowy later.
Exactly right, yeah, and I think for the program, I think we could just say, I think it's like if we just say, hey, our call for artists goes through, end of April, for example. It doesn't have to be that, it's just my date I'm throwing out there. That could be the last date for the purchases too, to say, by the end of April. So we got 4 months in the year to come up with people that want to buy these things, and 4 months to come up with people who want to paint them. And then that's kind of that's the cutoff for the program. If people after that fact say, hey, I would like one of these things too, we can say, great, we'll get you one. We'll have to, we could pull one of the artists that hadn't been selected initially and say, hey, we got another one somebody wants done, so we can probably offer them the same thing, right?
So what's your opinion on including the businesses who've purchased these when we reach out to artists? Like including those names? And how could we, if we wanted to do that without setting some boundaries, how could we do it live, I guess, like as it's happening?
Did these businesses or Historical Society and Premier Bank already indicate that they were going to pick from our artists, or if they indicated?
I think
that they
that's the
were-
way it's just been presented. to people so far, is that, this has always been our plan, is that we would find artists and then they would have designs to choose from.
Could I make a recommendation?
Sure.
If you're gonna put the subgroup together, it might be a good idea for one or the entire group to get in touch with whoever's gonna purchase it and have that conversation of what are they looking for, what would they like represented, and then go from there. They may want it to be entirely up to the artist, or they may want some say in what the design's going to be.
Yeah, and I think, I guess too, it's like if you have original artist designs, I mean, if you'd say to artists, hey, these are the people who are participating, then you might have an artist who say, okay, I'm gonna do something that's got a bent towards banking or a bent towards, windows or whatever. And then they're just kind of taking a shot that one company is gonna pick their thing because that's what they want. I don't know. I guess I guess I think it would be okay to have not advertise any of the businesses that are involved with the call for artists. And just say, it could be anything. But then I think if a business selects somebody, didn't we say from the very get-go that then the business could work with that artist for modifications to the design, right?
Yep. It's kind of a partnership, right?
Yeah. So, and this is something I think we could look at some others, and Terry had put me in touch with someone from Roseville who had worked on their project as well, but maybe there's some good lessons learned that some of these other folks have done as well. And just to say that, what's the best way to present this to businesses? What's the best way to present it to the artists? That type of thing. How do you, because look, I mean, there's got to be some sort of spirit of this thing for the purpose of the city of North St. Paul in conjunction with the Arts and Culture Commission. So we're not just facilitating the sale of statues to businesses, right? There should be something about, I mean, it's a snowman, for God's sake, for one thing. So it's obviously it's a symbol of civic pride for the city. So we want any business that takes part in this, or any private investor that takes part in this, to understand that spirit of it and what we're trying to accomplish here. And if we do decide, along the way that, oh, and by the way, we're gonna have all these things on a trailer for a parade at some point, if that's something we feel it's gotta happen, well, we can make it happen. I'm sure that some people won't be happy about it, like our insurance company. But, it's the point of, why are we doing this thing in the first place? So, anyway, so some things to consider. Stacy, are you gonna finalize, do you wanna try and finalize something for what you're working on there for the flyer?
It's already been sent to Sarah. Good.
Check that. All right, so then at our next meeting, we will review that further. And then at our next meeting, maybe too, we can look at assembling a subgroup that can start to take on some of these other questions in the in-between meetings. Sound good? So let's add that to, action item for our next meeting is to make sure that we assemble a subgroup.
Do we also want to potentially schedule a special meeting for like later in the spring too?
We sure
for our Next
can.
meeting,
Yeah. You
just
want,
so we can earmark.
should we add that?
Yeah.
Let's plan to schedule a special meeting. And it could just be another, I mean, like when we first started the commission,
Right.
we met every 2 weeks for a little while just to get us going. So we can say maybe it's February or March where we meet the first Wednesday and the third Wednesday or something like that. Okay, anything else on Snowy? All right, moving on. So we have 2022 budget update. Utility box wrapping and peach jar expenditure. Sarah, did you have anything general you want to start with on that one as far as the budget update?
So the most recent number of what we've spent this year is $2,600. So we still have room in the budget. For utility box wrapping, I did reach out to Electric, and they said that there would be about 6 to 10 boxes we could work with in the next year
Oh, okay.
to get those wrapped. So if you want to talk about the information you collected for that, that'd be great.
And Sarah, did I send you that document that I put together?
Yes,
You-
and I put the flyer in the Word document you put together is in the packet.
Oh,
as
okay.
well.
I didn't see that. Yeah, there we go. So in the back of our packet here, I just put together a document of just, snipping some pictures on Google of some different approaches to this type of thing. And basically what I was seeing, I boiled it down into 3 themes. There's like nature themes, there's historical themes, and then there's artistic themes. So you can do something that looks like a bush or flowers or something like that. And then there's the historical stuff. And then I think there's pros and cons to each of these, and then the artistic themes. So, and I've also reached out to the Historical Society. They believe that there's lots of pictures available that would be great. So if we wanted to do a historical theme, lots of pictures that would be great and suitable for something like that, especially like in front of Roddy's for those 2 boxes. Those 2 boxes in front of Roddy's are really not that big. One is really small and the other one is, kind of maybe average size. And I did reach out to the owner of Roddy's, and she is also interested in being involved in, what that might look like. But if the Historical Society, they have a lot of good pictures and don't believe that there would be any copyright issues. So there wouldn't be a cost to using a picture from.
Could we solicit photographs from the public?
So, yeah, we sure could, and I think that there's, well, I think we could do anything. But I think that what we're looking for was to potentially possibly get something done before the end of the year. And I don't know if that's possible. I haven't had a chance to get to contact any of the places that do this, the vendors that do this. But from what I have read so far, it has to be a certain temperature. So we might be out of luck. What do you mean by temperature? Like, they can't do it when it's cold outside. Oh, really?
And I know that a lot of the different commissions are very supportive and always have been of holding true to that historical design for North St. Paul.
Huh.
We've been really proud of our history, and just to incorporate that into the city has really been favored by most everybody.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I didn't know that. That's good to know. So,
And I know the planning commission also recommended something along the same lines for the one that they're proposing, the apartment they're proposing across the street. I'm not sure where they're at with that, if that's going to happen or not, but I know it was something that the planning commission had asked for.
okay. So I think, that said, it almost makes me feel like we shouldn't do a historical picture in front of Roddy's because we don't want it to be all historical pictures. There's something about mixing it up and having a little color.
That's where too, though, I think it might be really exciting to ask the public to submit imagery with a theme in mind, like submit a photograph with a theme that we could focus on.
Right.
Because we've got 2 buildings that are going to be, and even in Max, featuring the history of North St. Paul and doing it really well in some pretty great ways. And these utility boxes can celebrate the now. So we celebrate where we've been, and then we highlight community members through art that they've submitted today.
sorry, Stacy.
No,
Are
it's
we
okay.
Trying to get these purchases made yet this fiscal year, Tom?
Well,
to
see,
spend in
that was the
budget?
thing. So last time we talked about this, we were saying, hey, could we get the ones in Roddy's done before the end of the year?
Right.
And so this would be more like, let's just have the Arts and Culture Commission make a decision, get that done. If anybody doesn't like it, well, I'm sorry, but we're doing this thing. We'll get more public input for others. We're just trying to build visibility and excitement around a project.
Can we purchase these now?
Yeah, I don't know.
And then with the agreement of the company that they will install them in 2023?
Maybe.
Can we ask? I
I
don't
was
know.
thinking the same thing. I mean,
that seems
we'll
to
just
make
have to call.
sense
I got a couple
logistically.
of phone numbers on the back of this thing.
Yeah.
Just a couple that I dug up. BMS signs, Image 360, so we could call them and say, hey,
Can you do this?
here's a picture. Make the thing right now, and we'll pay you for it, and then install it as soon.
Well, and they don't even have to make it now. We can submit the specs on the size of the utility boxes, have them commit to a color image, and the installation for 2023 and we purchase that now with a purchase agreement that's paid, invoiced and paid. And then that
Yep.
gives us some space to decide when the weather is more agreeable in 2023 without it impacting our calendar year 2023 budget.
I understand fully what you're saying. So I'll call a couple of these places and say, is this doable? And see what they say. So that said, I mean, when it comes to just trying to get something done this year, it may be that we just can't do it. But if we can do it, and like we can use some funds from our current year's budget, then as far as what that design would be, now we're running out of time. And we don't have another meeting. So it would be just, we could potentially have a subgroup that would make a decision about this, but I don't know if that's even doable, because we'd have to be making decisions about certain dollar amounts that would be spent without consensus from the group.
The problem is the spending of the money, I think, more so than having, in this calendar year, more so than having the design and sending it, because it's not going to be able to be installed until 2023 anyways.
Right.
So to me, I think it might be wise for us to consider securing that purchase now and then moving forward with the design selection in the spring, like midwinter 2023, or early winter,
Yeah.
January, February.
Part of that too is gonna be getting the specs together, I mean, in a very timely manner. Exactly what photo we're using, because it's gonna depend, if it's a lot of color, it's gonna be more expensive. So it's hard to also say, we'll give you some X amount of money, we don't know exactly how much it's gonna be yet. That's part of the issue.
Well, and that's, that's where I would think, like, the company, wouldn't they come out and measure it? I mean, because they're kind of, those boxes aren't just necessarily cubical in shape.
They got all those little crevices.
Yeah, lots of little things jutting out and stuff like that, right? So I would imagine that they would want to come out and get exact dimensions. I don't know. Again, I'll have to call some of these places and see what they think. What I start to feel like with something like this is that if it's feeling rushed, it probably is rushed. And you know what? If we don't use up all the money in our budget this year, we don't use up all the money in the budget this year, and that's not a bad thing. We don't,
Is it a use it or lose it?
it is, yep.
So couldn't we just use it, and then if the utility box was ugly, we could rewrap?
Well, they can't do it because of the temperature.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I mean, we could just purchase something for whenever it's ready.
That's right.
Plan B.
How much were we trying, what did we have to, we had 2,600 to spend on this project?
That's how much we've spent so far this year.
So we have approximately 3,400 left? What was the total? Okay.
7,000.
7,000 was the total.
Did I do that math right,
I think
for the record?
So we have 4,400.
4,400, okay.
That was close.
So we wouldn't spend $4,400 on a utility box wrap anyway, especially not for the ones right outside of Roddy's. If, you know, they probably at most end up costing $1,000 or something like that.
My understanding is those boxes also might be removed, so.
Well, so I did reach out, so Brian said that he thought that those would be a great starting point, so he must know. And then he said there's also a new cabinet that was placed in the planting bed just west of where those two cabinets are. I'm trying to think where that, I don't recall seeing that one, so it'd be toward the post office, right? You could wrap that one as well. That cabinet houses controls for the sprinklers. Other places that are high-traffic areas that may work would be along 11th Avenue, just west of McKnight. I have a couple of transformers on 19th Avenue along Silver Lake Park. And then he said, how many are you looking to do? And I said, how many you got? No. So, again,
Quick reply and just ask him for the specific dimensions of each of them.
Yeah.
Would he have to go measure, do you think, Sarah?
I'll reach out to the electric department since Brian probably isn't doing that anymore. John Wick is the director of electric now, so
oh, okay.
I'll reach out to him and see if he's got specs for it.
John Wick?
Yes.
Isn't that the name of like a movie character?
Keanu Reeves?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's
Is he scary?
No. Very nice.
Keanu Reeves.
Let me check with our new parks person, Indiana Jones.
Right.
Indy, what do you have to say about that? Um, oh my God, I watched a movie from 1932 last night
Oh, fun.
called Freaks. Have you heard of this movie?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Wow. I'll just leave it there. I was just like, I was stunned by that movie. 1932. The acting was
Is that pre-code?
pre-what?
Code?
What
You
code?
know, the Hollywood code for keeping everything buttoned up.
I don't know what that is. I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah, that's fun times.
Huh.
I think that was 33, but I don't know.
The acting was just remarkably bad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you have some good pointers, Tom?
What's that?
Did you have some pointers for them? Couple tips.
They might have been beyond help. I don't know. Like, stop yelling so much. Anyway, all right. So I can do utility box wraps. My gut tells me that we'll see. But my gut tells me we're not going to be able to get something done with our current year's budget this year for the wraps. Going forward, then, again, this would be something that, well, maybe we have a small group that focuses on the utility box wraps, identifies all the things. How do we get community involvement? Do we want to have people submit their ideas? Do we want to get some ideas and then send them out to the community and say, everybody vote? I don't know. We can think of all that stuff. So we're just pushing everything to next year. So Sarah, another thing for next meeting is we'll have to put a subgroup together on the utility boxes. And then there was a peach jar expenditure. Do you want to tell us about that, Sarah?
Actually, I can take this. I
Okay.
should have told you. I went back to the school district and they sent it out without charging. So we can take this off. I should have.
Oh, great,
put it off the
okay.
agenda. My apologies.
No, that's fine.
So a formal thank you to ISD 622.
Yeah. So the next on the agenda was then 2023 objectives planning. And so we got a couple of these things now. So we're talking about Project Snowy. This is going to be kind of our big signature project, right? So we got Project Snowy, we have utility box wraps, and then we had talked about a mural project and putting something together for that. So I think what we're gonna have to do then, is any other projects that was, so I think we should also, well, we have, paint and sip. Is that what we're calling that?
Nope.
No? You can still sip without saying that it's alcohol,
If
right?
it's soda, if we choose to host soda,
Paint and party. How about that?
paint and
You
play,
can provide a few options.
paint and pander.
review.
What's-
Paint and THC. It's legal now
It's
in
legal,
Minnesota,
hashtag it's
right?
legal.
Yeah, right, yeah. Bring your own. We're not supplying, we're not saying, you know, but follow Minnesota law. But
I'm dying. Whew.
let's run that by Soren. Now, Soren, I know we talked about the alcohol thing, but what about weed? We didn't get into that. It's not, it's just says THC, so gummies. Paint, there's not, paint and gummies, that doesn't have a alliterative ring to it.
Paint and pot. No,
Paint and pot, there you go.
sorry, my apologies.
I don't know, so I'm gonna call it paint and sip for now until we come up with something else, if we do come up with something else. And then we have the art cart again. Programming for the art cart. So that's 5 things right there. Am I missing anything? And then I think, you know, I think we should probably count on some more collaboration with the Parks and Rec. I would love to do something like the Fall Frolic, just not in the fall in the state of Minnesota. So if we could move this whole commission to Arizona in November, then we could do it. Fall Frolic.
Or launch a new initiative called like Summer Jam.
Yeah, exactly. Something, well, I think you could have like a bigger event, a 2-day event, imagine, where it was at Casey Park, where you've got bands, you've got vendors, you got, you know, all kinds of stuff.
Snowy Stock.
So,
July instead of Woodstock.
there you go. Although, I think when we're done with this Project Snowy, I don't know if I'm gonna wanna look at another snowman. I don't know. Well, but you can't avoid them. They're on the street signs. There's a gigantic one right out here.
I
gonna have these
appreciate driving
4-footers all
past
over.
the one outside and it's mooning the street.
Yeah, I know it's backwards.
So I laugh at that every time I drive by. Like, hello.
So I'll just put Fall Frolic on here for now, for whatever that's gonna be, so maybe there's something different that we come up with on that one. But, so that's a lot. I mean, we're talking about a lot, so I think as we look through this, for next year, you know, a big part of why we're expanding the commission is so that we have more people who can do this legwork in between the meetings. I always, every time I get out of one of our meetings, I think, okay, I'm gonna do all this work before the next meeting. And then all of a sudden, it's the next meeting, and I go, dang it, I didn't get all that work done. And it just goes fast, and it's hard without other people pushing you, at least for me, and having some collaboration in between. So I think now that we can have, you know, some subgroups of, you know, up to 3 people that can work on these things in between, I think they'll be really helpful. Any thoughts on that?
Did you said new commissioners will be joining in January,
Yeah, they should be here in January, I would hope.
but it's not been selected or finalized.
Not finalized yet. Hopefully by the end of this week.
Oh, okay, great.
It should be at the meeting 2 weeks from yesterday.
The 20th.
Can we show up to that meeting collectively in support, maybe?
I think so.
And or do we want to bring anything to council that day? Since we're all gonna be here? Do we need to? Is there not anything?
Make something up.
Oh, like do something to council for
Yeah.
approval or something?
Or just to collectively say thank you for their support. I mean,
Yeah, council used to do a thing where they'd have the commissions come in and kind of give a annual wrap-up. Do you know, is that still a thing? It is. Okay.
I don't know what the history is, but I heard yesterday that it is going to be something that will be occurring in 2020.
So, and that makes a ton of sense to wait till we have the new members on board, so 3 new people. And I think that's the time where we should come in and present to the council and say, hey, here's what we have on tap for this year.
I think that anytime you want to show up to city council and demonstrate your support is always appreciated, though. So you're always welcome for that.
It's nice to have somebody who's not yelling at you once in a while, right? Are we okay with that then? So we'll kind of, so our next meeting, it's going to be talking about how do we activate on all of these projects. Anything else? Okay, old business, student commissioners update. Does someone have information on this? Did we get people?
We have not, so that's
Oh.
kind of an update.
So
Yeah,
no one's
nothing so
no
far.
one's applied for it yet.
Nope, and it's gone out on our social as well as in the newsletters.
Hmm.
Do we have a
to the
TikTok?
schools. We do not.
Yeah.
That'd be a good way though, but
So what do we do? Do we just keep pushing it and see, hopefully, is there a different way to get in front of the school, do you think?
not that I'm aware of. I think we just keep pushing it and see how it goes.
Okay.
I mean, unless any of you have any ideas. Nothing from my end.
How have you approached the school so far?
So the Peach Jar is the school district newsletter source, right?
Yep, so it went out to all of the online and both of the high schools. So 3 of the high school, well, all the secondary schools in the district. I think Carrie sent it out in the city newsletter.
Has anybody had any conversation with the arts teachers in the high school, maybe?
No.
No, that's a great idea.
I have a direct connection with one of our teachers because he's my son's teacher, and I hesitate to say this, but I loathe Peach Jar, and I never open those emails as a parent in this district. So I don't know. I know the district went all in on that in the last 3 to 5 years, and I was vocal in my concern for it for this exact reason. But I do think it would behoove us to directly email arts teachers at the high school and then include guidance counselors as well for both Tartan and North if we want to be inclusive.
Yeah, since you've got a kid at the high school, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to send an email. Will you forward me what you sent into the district? Do we have an electronic copy of that?
Sure.
Because that'll help.
Okay, so we'll keep trying. Stacy, you'll reach out directly to,
Yes, sir.
and how many art teachers are there? Is there more than one?
There's a few, because I know, like,
Ceramics.
Paula Clegg is ceramics, and I think she's reduced some of her teaching load because she's got a really booming ceramics
Wow.
business. Pottery by Paula. I own many mugs. She's like, I joke with her because she's going to make me broke. Her pieces are beautiful, and they're local.
Inexpensive.
Reasonable compared to other pottery
You're just buying
artists.
a lot of them.
I have a collection that I am proud of. It's
Gotcha.
beautiful. Yeah.
I figured they had to be making you broke one way or another. Either they were really expensive or you have a lot of them, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stacy, thanks for reaching out to those teachers, but then I guess, I just read the newsletter today. Is it still in the newsletter?
Not
that
this week.
Carrie's
It was in the last 2.
in the last 2, okay. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we keep trying with it and just see how it goes, and then we'll reassess in January. And if we just don't get any bites on it, well, teenagers are difficult anyways.
Yes, they are.
It helps when the staff in the building understand what the ask is, what the time commitment is. Especially, I mean, I'm not losing hope yet. It's just new, and
Yeah.
new things take time for folks to
Sure.
get excited about sometimes.
I agree. Okay, reports from staff.
Yeah, so just a couple things. We had, along with Brandy, we had another new hire in our area, Chris Cherney, so you might see that name come up. He is replacing Lisa, so he's been great so far. The other thing is, you may have noticed this, may have not, but on our website, we can no longer have a link to donations, so we cannot ask for Art Council donations at all. We can't have the QR code go to that website, that's down. We also can't have the Amazon page live for donations as well. So those have all come down as of now.
Geez, and that Amazon page actually worked.
So how do we incorporate this commission being funded as part of taxes that are already paid, similar to what Parks does, so that we don't have to rely on?
Well, Parks Fund came down also. So that is, yep, that won't be, they even had to take it off utility bills. You can't be
Oh,
asked
really?
for that anymore. So,
Wait, so if I'm contributing to that, will that contribution stop? Isn't it an automatic?
yes, it should stop.
Huh.
So, that's my report. Not the best.
You are just the messenger.
I know.
And
I am.
I understand that is not a fun seat to be in.
No, yeah.
I was wondering how long that would last after our last conversation, so interesting.
So that's all I got.
Wait, sorry. Could I get clarity on that? Are you saying like just as far as like website getting donations, we could get donations in other
If we're
ways?
not soliciting for it, so as long as we don't say, can you give us a donation or anything along those lines, just somebody happens to hand us a check, then it's okay. So we just can't be vocal about it.
Oh.
Randy, anything you want to add?
Well, thank you for having me in attendance tonight. I'm just kind of absorbing right now the different commissions to understand what we're doing as a group and how I can be supportive. So feel free to reach out anytime if I can assist.
Great, thank you. And can you just tell us a little bit about your role and what the expectations are
I
for
think
this
that's
role?
kind of evolving.
Okay,
My background is in urban planning, so I prior to coming to North St. Paul, I was with WSB as the city.
okay, gotcha.
I know Lisa from the Planning Commission. I've been working with the city since October of last year.
Okay,
So now I'm here as the Community Development Director, and I'm getting kind of my feet in a lot of different things. So yeah, a little bit. So I'm already fairly comfortable with the Planning Commission. I have now been introduced to the Park and Rec Commission, the Economic Development Authority. I've already had a little bit of work with them over the past few months, and so I think that as the Community Development Department is one that kind of touches on most areas of the community. So there's a lot of overlap with Public Works and engineering and finance and administration. So I'm kind of going to be a little bit all over the place, except probably not so much with police and fire, but there is a little bit of overlap when it comes to like development review and making sure that there's compliance with emergency services and that kind of thing. But there's a lot to do, but it's exciting. So I'm looking forward to this new position, and I'm enjoying it for the past month that I've been able to do it. So I'm happy to be here.
good. Is part of it helping to encourage business growth?
A little bit. So that'll be primarily directed by the Economic Development Authority, and also just working with the businesses that we have to, you know, assist them in any way that we can as a community. I'm still learning a little bit about what the expectations are, but definitely there's plenty to keep me busy.
Got it. Great, well, welcome, we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Reports from commissioners. I'm going to start down here to my left. C, do you have anything for us?
I do not, thank you.
Stacy?
No, thank you.
Gary?
Nothing tonight, thanks.
Okay, and I think I have covered everything already. Reports from council liaison. Lisa?
Yeah, so council had our regular meeting last night, no workshop, but it was the truth in taxation hearing. And so with that, the council had approved a 12.59% levy. So that's about 6.5 million. And then about 732,000 over the previous year. A lot of that those increases are being allocated to staffing levels, so getting those staffing levels back up from pre-pandemic, essentially. And then some capital improvements, and then infrastructure, and police and fire as well. And we had a lot of increases just across the board in some of our services and fees. Well, not so much fees, but just from inflation, and so that's kind of impacted our budget as well.
Sure.
We didn't levy for, or change the levy for the EDA, and we decreased our HRA levy, so we saved some money there this year. And I'll take any questions if you have any.
Is there a student-built house going on right now?
There is, yep.
Where's that one located? I forgot.
2170 Eldridge.
Oh, Eldridge, yes, that's right, okay. There was a lot split involved with that one, right?
Yep.
And so, did that finally get approved? Will there be we're gonna do two houses there, two student-built houses?
Yep, the lot
is the
was
plan.
approved.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah. Great. All right, that's our meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Carrie,
Second.
second by C. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 7:58 PM.